This is ACT Science Passage 6. This is a conflicts passage. There's only one conflicts passage per test, and in our DRC approach, C stands for conflicts and carefully read. You want to spend a bit more time in the passage before you move to the questions, understanding the conflict and the differences between the viewpoints. Then the questions can go pretty quick. We know it's conflicts because it says student 1, student 2, student 3. We'll usually say student or scientist, sometimes hypothesis or method. We're going to use our R and R approach, read the question, then reread, breaking it down step by step. You might want to skim the introduction, but the main thing you're looking for is what's the conflict, and that's going to be the last paragraph, the first of the introduction, generally. So we do have italicized words you want to pay attention to. So a phylogenetic tree shows proposed patterns of descendants among groups of organisms. So this is the phylogenetic tree example. We're looking at the most recent common ancestor. That's the MRCA of two groups. So then we have the conflict. 3 students analyzed different types of data, DNA, RNA, and proteins, to see if turtles share a more recent MRCA, most recent common ancestor, with archosaurs, birds and crocodiles, or squamates, lizards and snakes. Then step 2 is to identify the differences, annotate the differences. So student 1 looks at DNA in particular, so new DNA subunits are added, and it says turtles and archosaurs share the greatest number of additions. So DNA subunits, and so turtles are closely related to archosaurs or crocodiles and birds. Student 2 says that you looks at amino acids or protein sequences, right? And it found that turtles and crocodiles share the same number of substitutions, and their turtles and crocodiles have the most recent common ancestor. And student 3 looks at RNA, and so it says that turtles and squamates share the greatest number of deletions, so they're the most closely related. Pretty straightforward passage compared to a lot of conflicts. Number 34, which of the following statements regarding the most recent common ancestor of snakes is consistent with the phylogenetic tree of all 3 students? Snakes share a more recent common ancestor with, so let's look at the first one. So snakes share a most recent common ancestor with lizards. It's the same as student 2 and student 3. So they share the most recent common ancestor with lizards. Choice H. Number 35. The phylogenetic tree constructed by which of the students, so we're looking at the trees, supports the hypothesis that turtles are more closely related to archosaurs than squamates. So archosaurs are crocodiles and birds. So we do see that in student 1 for sure, but student 1 only is not a choice. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate choice A and B. And we know that it's not student 3, right? Student 3 is more closely related to squamates. Student 2 is more closely related to crocodiles, not birds, but crocodiles are still archosaurs. So the answer would be students 1 and 2, C. Number 36, Tuatara, a reptile native to New Zealand. So this is new information. Italicized words in a question are new information, not shared in the passage. So they share a more recent common ancestor with squamates than archosaurs. So squamates are snakes and lizards. Which of the following proposed phylogenetic trees is most consistent with this information? So let's just break it down, answer choice by answer choice. So choice F, we see tuataras are most closely related to crocodiles and birds. So that one is out. And then we see choice H, tuatara, most closely related to turtles. Nope. Choice G, tuatara is most closely related to snakes and lizards. We think G is probably true, and then J, Tuatara, no, is most closely related to turtles, or is equally related to turtles as anything else. And so your answer is G. '37. Suppose this is a question in which you have to extrapolate some information. The length of a horizontal line segment from a group of organisms to its nearest node is directly proportional to the length of the time that organism has existed. So long line equals long life. Based on this information, how many phylogenetic trees suggest that turtles have existed for longer than birds? So we want turtles to have longer line than birds in any of the trees. So let's just check each one. Student 1, turtle line is longer than the bird line, right? The bird line is here. Student 2, birds is longer, so that one's out. Student 3, turtles is longer than birds. So your answer would be 2 students agree with that. Choice C. Student 3's phylogenetic tree includes how many common ancestors of turtles and birds? So we see turtles, we see birds, and we trace it back to one common ancestor. So your answer is F. Number 39, an amino acid can be abbreviated by a single letter. Suppose, to think about it a bit, for a certain protein, an ancestor has the sequence listed here, the descendant group has the sequence listed here. Were these sequences more likely analyzed by student 2 or 3? And how many substitutions were present? So the sequences were more likely analyzed by student 2 because student 2 did amino acids, where student 3 did RNA. So we're going to say student 2. So now we got a 50-50 chance. And how many substitutions were there? This one's a little bit trickier, because I think your first inclination is going to be, well, just count the nodes maybe. It's actually simpler than that. We're just taking the sequence that's listed and seeing where do they change. So we see D changes to K and L changes to N. So there were 2 substitutions. So your answer has to be A. And number 40, which of these students analyzed sequences of nucleic acids? So this is a bit of a knowledge question. Nucleic acids equals DNA and RNA. So which students analyzed DNA and RNA? Students 1 and student 3. You might be tempted to choose student 2 only because it has the word acids in it. So this is just a straight knowledge. You know it or don't. The answer is J. So most of these questions were evaluations of models, inferences, and experimental results. Had one IOD question, but just double check your answers and decide, are you good at the conflicts passage? Remember, there's one conflicts passage per test. So you either want to do it first or you do it last. Okay, reach out if you have any silly jokes. And since this passage was about most common recent ancestors or mutations, what do you call a genetically modified cow? A mutant. Okay, that one was really dumb. Y'all have a good day.